Lieutenant Sarah Martinez stepped off the transport helicopter onto the dusty training ground at Naval Base Coronado. The California sun beat down mercilessly as she adjusted her tactical gear and surveyed the obstacle course that stretched before her. At 28 years old, she had already broken through barriers that most people could only dream of conquering. Her journey to this moment had been anything but ordinary. Growing up in a small farming town in Iowa, Sarah was the daughter of a mechanic and a school teacher. Her father, Miguel Martinez, had immigrated from Mexico with nothing but determination and a willingness to work 18-hour days. Her mother, Rebecca, was a former college athlete who taught high school mathematics and coached the girls' soccer team. From an early age, Sarah displayed an unusual combination of physical prowess and mental toughness. While other girls her age were playing with dolls or watching cartoons, Sarah was climbing trees, building makeshift obstacle courses in the backyard, and challenging the neighborhood boys to wrestling matches. Her parents initially worried about her tomboyish nature, but they soon realized that their daughter possessed something special. During her sophomore year of high school, Sarah's life took a dramatic turn. A military recruiter visited her school during career day, and something about the presentation resonated deeply with her. The recruiter spoke about service, honor, and pushing beyond perceived limitations. That evening, Sarah announced to her shocked parents that she intended to join the military after graduation. Her father was initially resistant, remembering his own difficult experiences with authority figures during his youth in Mexico. Her mother, however, saw the fire in Sarah's eyes and recognized the same determination that had once driven her own athletic achievements. After months of family discussions and research into military opportunities for women, Sarah's parents reluctantly gave their support. College came first, though. Sarah earned a full athletic scholarship to play soccer at the University of Iowa, where she also majored in international relations. During her freshman year, she joined the Reserve Officers Training Corps program, quickly distinguishing herself as a natural leader. Her professors noted her exceptional analytical skills, while her ROTC instructors were impressed by her physical capabilities and tactical thinking. The turning point came during her junior year when Sarah attended a guest lecture by a former Navy SEAL. Commander James Wilson spoke about the elite unit's missions around the world, the rigorous training process, and the mental fortitude required to succeed in the most challenging military environments. As he described the qualities needed for special operations, Sarah felt as though he was describing her own aspirations. After the lecture, Sarah approached Commander Wilson with questions about opportunities for women in special operations. At that time, women were not officially allowed in Navy SEAL teams, but Wilson could see something exceptional in the young woman before him. He suggested that Sarah consider other special operations roles that were open to women, but also mentioned that policies were slowly evolving. Sarah's college years became a period of intense preparation. She maintained her academic excellence while pushing her physical training to new levels. She learned multiple languages, studied military history and tactics, and sought out the most challenging physical activities she could find: rock climbing, marathon running, martial arts, and even amateur boxing became part of her routine. Her dedication did not go unnoticed. During her senior year, Sarah was approached by a Navy recruiting officer who had heard about her exceptional ROTC performance and athletic achievements. The Navy was beginning to explore opportunities for women in previously restricted roles, and Sarah's profile made her an ideal candidate for their pilot programs. After graduating summa cum laude with her degree in international relations, Sarah was commissioned as an ensign in the United States Navy. Her first assignment was to Naval Station Norfolk, where she served as an intelligence officer aboard a guided missile destroyer. The ship deployment gave her valuable experience in naval operations and international waters. During her 18-month deployment, Sarah's ship participated in several joint operations with Special Forces units. She witnessed firsthand how Navy SEALs operated and coordinated with conventional naval forces. Her intelligence work brought her into contact with SEAL team leaders, and she impressed them with her analytical skills and tactical understanding. When Sarah returned from deployment, she learned that the Navy had officially opened SEAL training to women as part of a new integration initiative. The announcement sent shockwaves through the military community, with opinions ranging from enthusiastic support to skeptical opposition. Sarah knew immediately that this was the opportunity she had been preparing for her entire life. The application process was grueling. Physical fitness tests, psychological evaluations, medical examinations, and extensive background investigations all had to be completed. Sarah's superiors were initially hesitant to recommend her for SEAL training, not because they doubted her capabilities, but because they understood the enormous challenges she would face as one of the first women to attempt the program. Commander Patricia Hayes, Sarah's direct supervisor, became an unexpected mentor during this period. Hayes had herself broken barriers as one of the first women to serve aboard combat ships. She recognized Sarah's potential, but also understood the unique pressures that female pioneers in military roles faced. The psychological evaluation proved to be one of the most challenging aspects of the selection process. Navy psychologists wanted to ensure that candidates could handle not only the physical demands of SEAL training, but also the mental stress of being constantly scrutinized as representatives of their gender. Sarah spent hours in interviews discussing her motivations, coping mechanisms, and long-term career goals. Dr. Michael Thompson, the lead psychologist for the SEAL selection program, was initially skeptical about women in combat roles. However, his sessions with Sarah gradually changed his perspective. Her responses demonstrated a level of mental toughness and situational awareness that impressed even experienced special operations veterans. The physical fitness tests were designed to eliminate candidates who lacked the basic physical capabilities required for SEAL training. Sarah had been preparing for these tests for months, working with personal trainers who specialized in military fitness. The standards were identical for male and female candidates, with no accommodations made based on gender differences. Swimming had always been Sarah's strongest physical skill. Growing up near a lake in Iowa, she had spent countless summer hours in the water and had even considered swimming competitively in college. The SEAL swimming requirements, however, were far beyond anything she had previously experienced. Candidates had to demonstrate proficiency in multiple swimming strokes while wearing full gear, complete underwater distance swimming, and perform water survival techniques under stress. The running component of the physical tests pushed Sarah to her limits. The required times for distance running were aggressive, and the tests were conducted in full gear over challenging terrain. Sarah's soccer background had given her excellent cardiovascular fitness, but the weight of military equipment and the unforgiving pace of the tests demanded a new level of physical conditioning. Strength tests proved to be Sarah's biggest challenge. While she had trained extensively with weights and functional fitness exercises, the upper body strength requirements for SEAL candidates were formidable. Pull-ups, rope climbing, and load-bearing exercises tested muscle groups that even her intensive training had not fully prepared. Despite the physical challenges, Sarah's performance on the fitness tests placed her in the top tier of all candidates, regardless of gender. Her swimming scores were exceptional, her running times were competitive with the best male candidates, and she managed to meet the strength requirements despite the natural physiological differences. The final step in the selection process was an interview panel consisting of active SEAL team leaders, training instructors, and senior Navy officers. This panel had the ultimate authority to approve or reject candidates for the training program. Sarah knew that this interview would determine whether her years of preparation would lead to the opportunity she had dreamed of. As she sat outside the interview room at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. From a small Iowa farming town to the threshold of the most elite military training in the world, every step had required her to prove that gender was not a limitation on capability or determination. The interview lasted 2 hours. Panel members questioned Sarah about her motivations, her understanding of SEAL team dynamics, her preparation for the mental challenges of training, and her long-term commitment to Special Operations service. They probed her responses, looking for any signs of uncertainty or unrealistic expectations about what lay ahead. 3 weeks later, Sarah received the phone call that would change her life. She had been accepted into the Navy SEAL training program. The voice on the other end of the line belonged to Master Chief Petty Officer Robert Stevens, who would become her senior instructor during the initial phases of training. His tone was professional but not unfriendly as he explained the reporting date and initial requirements. Sarah's acceptance into SEAL training made national news. She became an instant symbol of military gender integration, whether she wanted that role or not. Interviews with reporters, questions from family and friends, and opinions from military experts all focused on her gender rather than her qualifications. The attention was both encouraging and overwhelming. Her parents were simultaneously proud and terrified. They understood the significance of their daughter's achievement, but worried about the physical and emotional challenges she would face. Her father, who had initially opposed her military ambitions, now expressed complete confidence in her abilities. Her mother began researching everything she could find about SEAL training to better understand what her daughter would experience. The weeks leading up to her report date were filled with final preparations. Sarah continued her intensive physical training while also studying military tactics, naval operations, and team dynamics. She read everything available about SEAL history, famous operations, and training methodologies. She wanted to be as prepared as possible for what everyone acknowledged would be an extraordinary test of human endurance and determination. Friends and family organized a farewell gathering before Sarah left for Coronado. The event was bittersweet, as everyone understood that the young woman they were celebrating might return fundamentally changed by her experiences. Military training, especially at the SEAL level, had a way of transforming people in ways that were difficult to predict or understand. As Sarah packed her bags for the trip to California, she carried with her not only her personal belongings, but also the hopes and expectations of everyone who believed that capability should be measured by performance rather than gender. She also carried the skepticism of those who doubted whether any woman could meet the demands of the most challenging military training in the world. The first day of basic underwater demolition SEAL training dawned gray and cold along the California coast. Sarah arrived at the training compound at 500 hours, joining 23 other candidates who had passed the rigorous selection process. As she looked around at her fellow trainees, she noticed the mixture of curiosity and skepticism in their eyes. She was not just another candidate. She was the woman who had made headlines simply by being there. Master Chief Stevens called the group to attention in front of the training facility. The building looked innocuous enough from the outside, but Sarah knew that within its walls lay some of the most challenging military training scenarios ever devised. The Master Chief's voice cut through the morning air with the authority of someone who had spent decades in special operations. The initial briefing was straightforward but ominous. Stevens explained that over the next 26 weeks, the candidates would be pushed beyond their perceived limits in every conceivable way. Physical endurance, mental toughness, teamwork, leadership, and technical skills would all be tested continuously. The statistics were sobering. Historically, fewer than 25% of candidates successfully completed the program. Sarah's fellow candidates represented a diverse cross-section of military backgrounds. Some were fresh from college ROTC programs, others were experienced enlisted personnel seeking advancement, and several were officers transitioning from other military specialties. Ages ranged from early 20s to mid-30s, and educational backgrounds varied from high school graduates to advanced degree holders. Among the group was Petty Officer Jake Morrison, a former college football player from Texas, who had spent 3 years as a Navy rescue swimmer. His physical presence was imposing, and his confidence was evident in every movement. During introductions, he made no effort to hide his skepticism about women in SEAL training, though he stopped short of making overtly discriminatory comments. Another notable candidate was Lieutenant Kevin Chen, a Naval Academy graduate whose family had immigrated from Taiwan when he was young. Chen's academic background in engineering and his experience with underwater systems made him a natural fit for the technical aspects of SEAL training. His quiet demeanor masked an intensely competitive nature that would become apparent during team exercises. Ensign Marcus Williams brought a different perspective to the group. As one of the few African-American candidates, he understood something about breaking barriers and facing skepticism based on characteristics beyond his control. Williams had grown up in inner-city Detroit and seen military service as a path to opportunities that might otherwise be unavailable. His street-smart intelligence and natural leadership qualities quickly earned respect from other candidates. The first weeks of training focused on basic military skills that all special operations personnel needed to master. Physical conditioning sessions began before dawn each day, with running, swimming, and calisthenics pushing every candidate to their limits. Sarah's preparation served her well during these early challenges, and she consistently performed in the top tier of the group. Weapons training introduced candidates to the firearms and explosives they would use in operational environments. Sarah's analytical mind helped her excel in the classroom portions of weapons training, where candidates learned ballistics, explosives theory, and weapons maintenance procedures. On the firing range, her steady hands and patience made her one of the most accurate marksmen in the class. The swimming pool became Sarah's domain. Her natural comfort in the water allowed her to master complex underwater maneuvers that challenged even strong swimmers among her fellow candidates. During pool exercises, candidates had to demonstrate their ability to function underwater while wearing full gear, handling equipment malfunctions, and managing emergency situations. One particular pool exercise became a defining moment for Sarah's relationship with her fellow candidates. The drill involved buddy breathing underwater, where pairs of candidates shared a single breathing apparatus while completing a complex underwater navigation course. Sarah was paired with Morrison, the former football player who had expressed doubts about women in the program. Midway through the exercise, Morrison's equipment malfunctioned, leaving both candidates dependent on Sarah's air supply. The situation required precise coordination, calm decision-making, and absolute trust between partners. Sarah guided Morrison through the remainder of the course, managing their shared air supply and navigating the underwater obstacles while maintaining communication through hand signals. When they surfaced at the completion point, Morrison's attitude toward Sarah had fundamentally changed. The experience of depending on her skills and judgment in a potentially life-threatening situation had demonstrated her capabilities more effectively than any argument or discussion could have achieved. From that day forward, Morrison became one of Sarah's strongest supporters within the candidate group. The land navigation exercises tested candidates' abilities to move through unfamiliar terrain using map and compass skills. These exercises were conducted in the mountains east of San Diego, where candidates had to locate specific checkpoints while carrying full combat loads. The terrain was challenging, with steep inclines, dense vegetation, and loose rocky surfaces that made every step treacherous. Sarah's soccer background had given her excellent endurance and foot speed, but the weight of military equipment and the unforgiving terrain created new challenges. During one particularly demanding exercise, she found herself struggling to maintain pace with some of the larger, stronger candidates. As fatigue set in, she had to rely on mental toughness and efficient movement techniques to complete the course within the required time limits. Chen proved to be a valuable teammate during land navigation exercises. His methodical approach to map reading and route planning complemented Sarah's physical abilities and determination. Together, they developed efficient techniques for sharing the load and maintaining morale during the most challenging portions of the exercises. The academic components of SEAL training required candidates to master a vast array of technical subjects. Courses in explosives, communications, medical procedures, maritime operations, and intelligence gathering demanded intensive study and practical application. Sarah's college education and natural analytical abilities served her well in these classroom settings. Medical training was particularly demanding, as SEAL candidates had to learn to provide emergency medical care under combat conditions. The curriculum covered everything from basic first aid to complex battlefield surgical procedures. Candidates practiced on medical simulators and later on live tissue exercises that tested their ability to function under extreme stress. During one medical training scenario, candidates were required to treat simulated casualties while under simulated enemy fire. Instructors used pyrotechnics, loud noises, and time pressure to create realistic stress conditions. Sarah's performance during these exercises was exceptional, as her ability to compartmentalize stress and focus on immediate tasks proved invaluable in medical emergency situations. The first major evaluation point in SEAL training was the infamous Hell Week, a 5.5-day period of continuous physical and mental challenges designed to identify candidates with the resilience required for special operations. Sleep deprivation, constant physical activity, cold water exposure, and relentless pressure from instructors created an environment unlike anything most candidates had ever experienced. Hell Week began on a Sunday evening with the sound of gunfire and explosive charges detonating around the candidate barracks. Instructors shouted orders while candidates scrambled to dress and assemble in formation. The chaos was intentional, designed to simulate the confusion and stress of combat situations while testing candidates' abilities to function under extreme pressure. The first night involved a series of physical challenges conducted on the beach and in the surf. Candidates performed calisthenics in the sand, carried heavy logs as teams, and completed obstacle courses while instructors continuously shouted criticism and demands for better performance. The cold Pacific Ocean became a constant companion, as candidates were regularly ordered into the surf to perform exercises in the frigid water. Sarah's first major challenge during Hell Week came during a boat crew exercise on Monday morning. Candidates were divided into teams of 6 and assigned inflatable boats that they had to carry everywhere they went. The boats weighed over 200 pounds when dry and became significantly heavier when wet and sand-covered. Sarah's team included Morrison, Chen, Williams, and 2 other candidates whose backgrounds were in conventional Navy surface warfare. The boat crews were required to race from point to point along the beach, carrying their boats over their heads while running through soft sand. Sarah's smaller stature made it difficult for her to reach the boat when it was overhead, forcing her teammates to adjust their carrying positions to accommodate her height. Some instructors used this as an opportunity to criticize team performance and question whether all team members were contributing equally. During one particularly demanding boat race, Sarah's team fell behind the other crews. Instructors immediately focused their attention on Sarah, suggesting that her physical limitations were holding back the entire team. The criticism was harsh and personal, designed to create stress and test her mental resilience under attack. Instead of becoming defensive or emotional, Sarah used the criticism as motivation. She analyzed the team's boat-carrying technique and suggested modifications that would better utilize each team member's strengths. Her engineering-minded approach to problem-solving impressed Chen, who helped implement her suggestions during subsequent races. The modified technique proved successful, and Sarah's boat crew began winning races consistently. The instructor's criticism shifted from personal attacks on Sarah to acknowledgement of her team's improved performance. The experience demonstrated not only her physical capabilities, but also her ability to think clearly and lead effectively under extreme pressure. Tuesday night brought the notorious surf torture exercise, where candidates were required to link arms and sit in the cold Pacific surf while waves crashed over them. The exercise continued for hours, with instructors occasionally allowing candidates brief respites on the beach before ordering them back into the water. Hypothermia became a real danger, and several candidates were removed from training due to medical concerns. Sarah's smaller body mass made her more susceptible to hypothermia than some of her larger teammates. As her core body temperature dropped, she began experiencing the early stages of hypothermic confusion. Williams, who was sitting next to her in the surf line, noticed her condition and helped keep her alert through conversation and shared body heat. The bond formed during that night in the surf created a lasting friendship between Sarah and Williams. They had literally kept each other alive through one of the most dangerous portions of Hell Week, and both understood that their success depended on supporting each other through the remaining challenges. Wednesday brought a series of timed runs and obstacle courses that tested candidates' ability to maintain performance standards despite extreme fatigue. Sarah's cardiovascular fitness served her well during these challenges, and she consistently finished in the top portion of the group. Her times were competitive with the best male candidates, silencing critics who suggested that gender-based performance differences would prevent her success. The log exercises on Wednesday afternoon required boat crews to work together to move heavy logs through obstacle courses. The logs weighed several hundred pounds and required coordinated effort from all team members to lift, carry, and maneuver through tight spaces. Sarah's team had developed excellent communication and coordination skills, allowing them to complete these challenges efficiently despite their individual size differences. Thursday's challenges focused on teamwork and leadership under stress. Candidates were rotated through leadership positions during various exercises, with instructors evaluating their ability to make decisions, communicate effectively, and motivate their teammates. When Sarah's turn as team leader arrived, she found herself directing her boat crew through a complex obstacle course while under time pressure and constant instructor criticism. Her leadership style was notably different from many of her male counterparts. Rather than relying on volume and aggression, Sarah used clear communication, collaborative problem-solving, and calm confidence to guide her team. Her approach was initially met with skepticism from instructors who were accustomed to more traditional military leadership styles. However, her team's performance under her leadership was exceptional. They completed the obstacle course faster than any other boat crew and did so without injuries or equipment damage. The instructor's post-exercise critique acknowledged her effective leadership while noting that different situations might require different leadership approaches. By Friday morning, only 60% of the original candidates remained in training. The combination of physical demands, sleep deprivation, and constant stress had eliminated many candidates who had seemed well prepared at the beginning of the week. Sarah remained among the survivors, though she was physically and mentally exhausted beyond anything she had previously experienced. The final challenge of Hell Week was a timed run from the training facility to the Hotel del Coronado, a distance of over 4 miles through sand and surf. Candidates had to complete the run within a specific time limit while carrying full gear. The run served as both a final physical test and a symbolic transition from Hell Week back to regular training. As Sarah crossed the finish line within the required time, she realized that she had accomplished something that many people had believed impossible. She had not only survived Hell Week, but had demonstrated leadership, physical capability, and mental toughness that earned respect from instructors and fellow candidates alike. The young woman who had grown up in rural Iowa had proven that determination and preparation could overcome any obstacle. The Hell Week completion ceremony was brief but meaningful. Master Chief Stevens addressed the surviving candidates, acknowledging their achievement while reminding them that Hell Week was only the beginning of their SEAL training journey. The most challenging and dangerous portions of the program still lay ahead. 6 months after Hell Week, Lieutenant Sarah Martinez stood at the edge of the training compound's main assembly area, watching as a new group of SEAL training candidates arrived for their first day. The sight brought back memories of her own nervousness and excitement when she had first stepped off the transport helicopter. Now, as one of only 12 survivors from her original class of 24, she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had proven herself in the most demanding military training in the world. The advanced phases of SEAL training had tested Sarah in ways that Hell Week had only hinted at. Combat diving operations in murky waters with zero visibility, long-range reconnaissance missions in hostile terrain, and complex hostage rescue scenarios had all pushed her abilities to new levels. Each phase had brought new challenges and opportunities to demonstrate that gender was irrelevant when measuring capability and dedication. During the maritime operations phase, Sarah had distinguished herself as one of the most skilled combat divers in her class. The underwater navigation exercises required candidates to swim long distances underwater while carrying heavy equipment and following precise compass headings. Sarah's natural comfort in the water and her analytical approach to problem-solving made her exceptionally effective in these challenging environments. One particular diving exercise had cemented her reputation among instructors and fellow candidates. The scenario involved a nighttime infiltration of a simulated enemy harbor, where candidates had to navigate underwater obstacles, plant explosive charges on target vessels, and extract without being detected. The exercise was conducted in the San Diego Bay, where strong currents, limited visibility, and the presence of actual maritime traffic created realistic operational conditions. Sarah's team was assigned the most challenging target, a vessel anchored in the deepest part of the harbor with the strongest currents. The approach required precise underwater navigation over a distance of nearly 2 miles, followed by the technical challenge of placing explosive charges on a moving target while avoiding detection by security patrols. The mission began after midnight, with Sarah's 6-person team entering the water from a small boat several miles from their target area. Each team member carried over 60 pounds of diving equipment, explosive devices, and emergency gear. The water temperature was 52 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to impair motor skills and cognitive function if exposure continued too long. Sarah served as the team's primary navigator during the approach phase. Using only a compass and her ability to estimate distance and direction underwater, she guided the team through the harbor's complex layout while avoiding shipping channels and underwater obstacles. The navigation required constant adjustments for current drift and the need to avoid surface vessels that could detect their presence. Midway through the approach, one of Sarah's teammates experienced equipment failure when his breathing apparatus began malfunctioning. The situation required immediate response in complete darkness 30 feet underwater, with enemy security boats patrolling overhead. Sarah quickly assessed the situation and implemented emergency procedures that she had drilled countless times during training. Using hand signals and shared equipment, Sarah managed her teammates' emergency while maintaining the team's progress toward their target. Her calm decision-making under pressure prevented what could have become a training fatality and demonstrated the level of competence expected from SEAL operators in real-world situations. The team reached their target vessel with minutes to spare before the exercise time limit expired. Sarah coordinated the placement of explosive charges, while other team members provided security and maintained underwater communications. The technical precision required for this phase of the mission demanded perfect coordination between all team members. The extraction phase proved even more challenging than the approach. Security patrols had increased their activity level, and the team had to navigate back through the harbor while avoiding detection. Sarah's navigation skills were again crucial as she guided the team along a route that avoided patrol boats while accounting for changing current conditions. When the team surfaced at their extraction point, they had successfully completed one of the most challenging exercises in the maritime operations curriculum. Instructors later acknowledged that Sarah's navigation and emergency response had been exceptional, setting a standard that future classes would be challenged to match. The land warfare phase of training introduced urban combat scenarios that tested candidates' abilities to operate in complex environments where distinguishing between friendly and hostile forces required split-second decision-making. These exercises took place in realistic urban training facilities where candidates faced simulated enemy forces using advanced training ammunition and electronic monitoring systems. Sarah's analytical mind proved invaluable during urban combat training. Her ability to quickly assess tactical situations and identify optimal courses of action impressed instructors who had initially questioned whether women possessed the aggressive mindset required for close-quarters combat. Her approach to tactical problems was methodical but decisive, demonstrating that effective combat leadership could take many forms. During one urban combat exercise, Sarah's unit was tasked with clearing a multi-story building held by simulated enemy forces. The scenario required coordinated movement through confined spaces while maintaining communications and avoiding civilian casualties. Sarah was designated as the team leader for this exercise, making her responsible for tactical decisions and team coordination. Her leadership style during the building clearance operation differed markedly from traditional aggressive approaches favored by many male candidates. Instead of relying on overwhelming force and rapid movement, Sarah emphasized precision, communication, and adaptive tactics that minimized risk to her team while achieving mission objectives. The building clearance began with detailed reconnaissance and planning. Sarah positioned team members to cover all possible escape routes while establishing communications protocols that would allow real-time coordination during the operation. Her thorough preparation phase was initially criticized by instructors who preferred more aggressive immediate action approaches. However, Sarah's methodical approach proved highly effective as the operation unfolded. Her team moved through the building systematically, clearing each room with precision while maintaining constant communication and mutual support. When they encountered unexpected resistance, Sarah quickly adapted her tactics without losing control of the overall situation. The exercise concluded with Sarah's team successfully neutralizing all enemy forces while suffering no casualties and avoiding any harm to simulated civilians in the building. Post-exercise analysis showed that her team had achieved their objectives faster and with less ammunition expenditure than teams using more conventional aggressive tactics. Instructor feedback emphasized that Sarah's approach demonstrated advanced tactical thinking that would serve her well in real-world operations where political considerations and civilian safety often required more sophisticated approaches than simple, overwhelming force. Her performance during urban combat training established her reputation as a thoughtful and effective tactical leader. The final phase of SEAL training involved advanced weapons systems, explosives handling, and specialized reconnaissance techniques. These skills formed the technical foundation that distinguished SEAL operators from conventional military forces. Sarah's academic background and attention to detail made her exceptionally effective during this technically demanding portion of the program. Explosives training required candidates to master complex calculations involving blast effects, structural engineering, and timing mechanisms. Sarah's mathematical background allowed her to excel in the theoretical aspects of explosives work, while her steady hands and methodical approach made her one of the most reliable candidates during practical exercises involving live explosives. The culminating exercise for explosives training involved a simulated demolition mission where candidates had to calculate and place charges capable of destroying a reinforced concrete structure. The exercise required precise mathematical calculations to ensure that the structure would collapse in a specific direction without causing collateral damage to nearby buildings. Sarah was assigned responsibility for the critical calculations that would determine charge placement and timing. Her work had to account for structural engineering principles, explosive characteristics, weather conditions, and safety considerations for nearby personnel. Any miscalculation could result in mission failure or simulated casualties. Working through the night before the demolition exercise, Sarah double-checked her calculations using multiple mathematical approaches to ensure accuracy. Her thoroughness impressed even experienced explosives instructors, who acknowledged that her attention to detail exceeded that of most candidates regardless of their backgrounds. The demolition exercise proceeded exactly as Sarah had calculated. The structure collapsed in the planned direction within the predicted time frame, achieving complete destruction while avoiding any damage to surrounding buildings. The precision of her calculations and the successful execution of the demolition established her reputation as one of the most technically competent candidates in her class. As Sarah's SEAL training neared completion, she faced one final test that would determine whether she would join the ranks of qualified SEAL operators. The final exercise was a comprehensive mission scenario that required integration of all skills learned during the 6-month training program. The exercise would test her technical competence, leadership abilities, physical capabilities, and mental resilience in a realistic operational environment. The scenario involved a simulated hostage rescue mission in a foreign country where American diplomatic personnel were being held by terrorist forces. Sarah's team was assigned to infiltrate the target facility, neutralize hostile forces, rescue the hostages, and extract without causing international incidents that could damage American foreign policy interests. The mission planning phase allowed candidates to demonstrate their analytical and leadership capabilities. Sarah was selected to serve as the mission commander, making her responsible for overall tactical planning and execution. The responsibility was both an honor and a tremendous burden, as mission success or failure would rest primarily on her decisions. Sarah approached mission planning with the same methodical precision that had characterized her performance throughout training. She analyzed intelligence reports, studied facility layouts, assessed enemy capabilities, and developed multiple contingency plans for various scenarios that might arise during execution. Her planning process impressed supervising instructors with its thoroughness and attention to detail. The infiltration phase of the mission required Sarah's team to penetrate heavily defended territory and reach their target facility without detection. The approach route led through several miles of rough terrain during nighttime conditions with limited visibility. Sarah's navigation skills and her team's coordination were crucial for maintaining stealth and reaching their objective on schedule. Midway through the infiltration, Sarah's team encountered an unexpected enemy patrol that threatened to compromise their mission. The situation required immediate tactical decision-making that balanced mission objectives against team safety. Sarah quickly assessed the situation and developed a plan to neutralize the patrol while maintaining operational security. Her solution involved splitting her team into multiple elements that could surround the enemy patrol and neutralize them simultaneously. The coordination required precise timing and flawless execution, as any mistake could alert other enemy forces and doom the mission. Sarah's calm leadership and clear communication enabled her team to execute the plan perfectly. The assault phase of the mission required Sarah's team to breach the target facility and rescue hostages while minimizing casualties and avoiding damage that could create diplomatic complications. The building layout forced the team to operate in confined spaces where traditional tactics had to be modified for the unique environment. Sarah's approach to the assault emphasized speed and precision rather than overwhelming force. Her team moved through the facility systematically, neutralizing opposition while protecting hostages and gathering intelligence that could be valuable for future operations. The execution demonstrated advanced tactical capabilities and mature judgment under pressure. The extraction phase tested Sarah's ability to adapt her plans when circumstances changed unexpectedly. Enemy reinforcements arrived sooner than anticipated, forcing her team to modify their escape route while protecting rescued hostages. Sarah's quick thinking and effective communication enabled her team to reach their extraction point despite the complications. The mission concluded successfully with all hostages rescued, enemy forces neutralized, and Sarah's team extracted without casualties. Post-exercise analysis praised her leadership, tactical acumen, and ability to adapt under pressure. Instructors acknowledged that her performance had met or exceeded standards expected from experienced SEAL operators. 3 weeks later, Sarah Martinez stood at attention in the graduation ceremony for her SEAL training class. Master Chief Stevens called her name as one of 12 candidates who had successfully completed the most demanding military training in the world. As she stepped forward to receive her SEAL Trident insignia, she carried with her not only personal satisfaction, but also the knowledge that she had opened doors for other women who would follow. The ceremony was attended by Sarah's parents, who had traveled from Iowa to witness their daughter's historic achievement. Her father, who had once worried about her military ambitions, now watched with obvious pride as she joined the ranks of America's most elite warriors. Her mother, who had supported her dreams from the beginning, understood that this moment represented the culmination of years of preparation and sacrifice. Sarah's achievement made national headlines once again, but this time the focus was on her successful completion of training rather than questions about whether women belonged in SEAL units. Her performance had answered those questions definitively, proving that capability and determination were the only qualifications that mattered for Special Operations Service. In her brief remarks during the graduation ceremony, Sarah thanked her instructors, her fellow candidates, and her family for their support throughout the challenging training process. She acknowledged that her success belonged not only to her, but to everyone who believed that opportunities should be based on merit rather than assumptions about gender limitations. 6 months later, Petty Officer First Class Sarah Martinez deployed with SEAL Team 7 on her first operational mission. The mission involved maritime interdiction operations in the Mediterranean Sea, where her team was responsible for boarding and searching vessels suspected of transporting illegal weapons. Her technical skills and leadership abilities quickly earned respect from team members who evaluated her based on performance rather than gender. During one boarding operation, Sarah's team encountered armed resistance from smugglers attempting to transport advanced weapon systems to terrorist organizations. The firefight that ensued tested her combat skills and decision-making abilities in a real-world environment where mistakes could have fatal consequences. Sarah's performance during the engagement was exemplary. Her accurate marksmanship neutralized hostile threats, while her tactical leadership coordinated her team's response to the emergency situation. The successful completion of the mission and the seizure of dangerous weapons validated her training and demonstrated her readiness for Special Operations Service. The operation also involved 16 new SEAL recruits who were participating in their first live mission as part of their advanced training. These recruits had heard about Sarah's pioneering role in opening SEAL training to women, and many were curious about her capabilities and leadership style. During a brief respite between mission phases, the 16 recruits gathered around Sarah as she conducted an equipment inspection. Some were testing her knowledge of weapons systems, others were asking about her training experiences, and a few seemed skeptical about whether she truly belonged among SEAL operators. One recruit made a comment suggesting that Sarah's presence on the team created unnecessary complications and that women were fundamentally unsuited for special operations combat. The comment was intended to provoke a response that might reveal weaknesses or emotional instability. Instead of responding with anger or defensiveness, Sarah quietly set down her equipment and looked directly at the recruit who had made the comment. In a calm voice, she suggested that if he had questions about her qualifications, they could settle the matter through a practical demonstration of relevant skills. What happened next took less than 60 seconds and became legendary within SEAL Team 7. Sarah challenged the recruit to a comprehensive skills demonstration that included weapons assembly, tactical movement, medical procedures, and hand-to-hand combat techniques. The demonstration would settle any questions about her capabilities while providing valuable training for all the recruits. The weapons assembly portion required both participants to disassemble and reassemble their primary weapons while blindfolded. Sarah completed the task in 38 seconds, 12 seconds faster than her challenger. Her familiarity with weapons systems and her methodical approach to technical tasks gave her a clear advantage. The tactical movement exercise involved navigating through an obstacle course while carrying full combat equipment. Sarah's smaller size and superior conditioning allowed her to complete the course with greater speed and efficiency than the larger recruit. Her time was competitive with the best performances recorded by any SEAL operator. The medical procedures test required both participants to diagnose and treat simulated combat injuries under time pressure. Sarah's extensive medical training and her ability to function effectively under stress enabled her to complete the medical scenarios more accurately and quickly than her challenger. The hand-to-hand combat demonstration was brief but decisive. Using techniques learned during her training and refined through months of operational experience, Sarah quickly neutralized her opponent using minimal force and maximum efficiency. The encounter demonstrated not only her physical capabilities, but also her professional restraint and tactical judgment. The entire demonstration lasted less than 1 minute and was witnessed by all 16 recruits, along with several experienced SEAL operators. When it concluded, Sarah quietly resumed her equipment inspection without making any comments about the outcome. Her actions had spoken more clearly than any words could have conveyed. The recruit who had challenged Sarah approached her later that day to apologize for his comments and to express his respect for her capabilities. His attitude had been completely transformed by witnessing her professional competence and calm confidence. The other recruits had also gained a new appreciation for the standards of excellence that SEAL operators were expected to maintain. Master Chief Stevens, who had observed the demonstration from a distance, later commented that Sarah's response had been exemplary. Rather than allowing emotion or pride to guide her actions, she had used the situation as a training opportunity that benefited everyone involved. Her approach demonstrated the maturity and professional judgment that distinguished exceptional leaders from merely competent operators. The incident became part of SEAL Team 7's informal history, retold as an example of how capability and character were the only qualifications that mattered for Special Operations service. Sarah's 60-second demonstration had proved definitively that she belonged among America's most elite warriors, and that gender was irrelevant when measuring military excellence. Years later, Sarah Martinez would continue to serve with distinction in increasingly responsible positions within Special Operations forces. Her pioneering role in opening SEAL training to women would inspire future generations of female service members, but her lasting legacy would be defined by her operational achievements and her contribution to American national security. The young woman who had grown up in rural Iowa dreaming of military service had not only achieved her personal goals, but had also changed an entire military culture through her example of excellence, determination, and unwavering professionalism.